Okay, wow.
Welcome back. No pressure there.
I gotta say, I love your interstitials. Whoever that guy is.
Thank you.
I think we should live with him.
Andrew Bowen, he's our VO guy. He's reading some more this weekend, right?
They're very funny.
I just told him that right now.
Okay, good.
So, Danny
Yes.
Klein Modisette.
Yes.
Your book, Take My Spouse, Please.
Please. Please.
I wish someone would have taken mine years before I dumped him.
Okay, so the funny thing, though, I have to say about that title is it is a pro-marriage book. Everyone comes up to me, and I was at a couple of book events in New York, and women were coming up in droves, make it out to my husband, make it out to my husband. And I'm like, you realize this is like, it's a very positive message. It's totally like, you know, let's do our best to stay married happily message.
But I love how it started because you know, the beginning of the book, you talk about this moment that you're having and marriage and, you know, or wedded unbliss maybe. And then you literally get bonked on the head or, you know, metaphorically and literally, you know, by performing stand-up comedy, UCLA 1999, a class you were teaching.
Yes, my syllabus.
And this suddenly became a book.
Yes, because I realized, I mean, I was very upset in the moment, and after one of those kind of brutal fights, which maybe only we have, and
yes, it's only you.
Yeah, only me. And I was thinking, oh right, people used to always say to me as a comedian, like, stand-up comedy, that's the hardest thing in the world to do. I could never do that. That's the hardest thing in the world to do. And as I was laying in the fetal position, I was like, really? I think maybe marriage is a little harder than a stand-up comedy set. And so that's what made me think about, oh, well, I wonder, like that thing that people say is the hardest thing to do in the world, I wonder if there isn't information there that could actually help what for me is the hardest thing to do in the world, which is to stay happily married. I mean, I think I want to make the distinction, like you can stay married, people stay married, but the idea is to stay happily married. So that's what I set out to research.
And so you believe that the rules of comedy will actually help a marriage?
I do think that when you break down what creates laughter between a couple, that the laughter is ultimately a byproduct of all these other elements that are actually used to create comedy. So to explain, you know, the importance of listening, I break down all the different components that you teach a comedian in order to move an audience to laughter. And so many of those are relevant to a happy, healthy relationship. So you have to show up. You know, you have to show up for each other. You have to be in the room. I mean, that's like chapter one.
Right.
You know, if you're not there, present for the other person, forget it. There's not going to be any laughter because you're not even in the room together. You're not.
And your husband was a big proponent of showing up.
Yes, my husband, before we were married, I do tell that story of like, and I had been on the road for 10 years. Like, I really showed up for me.
Right.
And an audience. I knew how to show up for an audience. But in terms of like my relationships, I was like, yeah, wherever I was good. And then I was gone. And I was very comfortable with that. And that's not unique to comedians. Like, that's kind of who we are.
That's not unique to, I mean, that's not unique to a lot of people.
Right, that's not unique to a lot of people. But when you design a life.
Especially in Los Angeles and entertainment.
Yes, absolutely. We're highly immature. But anyway, I had been with him and at his house, and he got a phone call from his friend, and the friend was upset because the wife wasn't going to go to this Thanksgiving dinner. Because she didn't believe in Thanksgiving or whatever. She was a Wiccan, I think, or something. And he hung up the phone, and my husband's really upset. And I was like, whoa, what's the problem? And she said, well, you know, you have to show up. That doesn't matter whether she believes. You show up. That's what you do. And I just remember being like a dog hearing a strange sound, like, oh,
the
my
RCA
God.
dog.
Is that what you do? Oh, that's what you do in a marriage? Wah, wah. I gotta work on that one.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that sounds like you have to be like generous of spirit and interested in like commitment. Oh my goodness.
But do you find, like, when you and your husband are arguing, that you crack jokes or that you try to find funny moments within an argument?
Well, he does now. I mean, that's the interesting thing about having done this work for a couple of years, is that it has affected how we communicate.
But if he's laughing at you while you're, you know,
pitching a fit at you,
that's different.
Talk about that distinction, because I know that there are some times where you just want to be heard and you don't want anyone to make light. Like, I'm frustrated sometimes when I'm trying to be serious and someone tries to find a joke in it. I'm like, not yet. I'm not ready. Let me just be pissed. Let me just cry. Don't find them funny yet. Like,
okay, well, first of all, the fact that you can say that is really, really healthy. Just that you can say, like, not yet.
Yeah.
Because not yet, by the way, is not don't ever effing say that.
Right.
You're saying not yet. Like I'm not ready. That's about timing, and I have a whole
Right.
chapter on timing about
Right.
when it's appropriate. But in terms of creating laughter
We
itself,
just got the eyeball. I
got
think
the
we're not
eyeball?
even supposed to we're not even supposed to reference that F thing.
Okay,
so.
sorry. I meant fun and fudge.
Exactly.
I don't
exactly.
know what anyone else was
I'm
thinking.
with you too.
Yeah.
Okay, follicle is what I was referring to. But in any event, so there's two types of humor within a marriage, and one is kind of referred to as affiliative, which creates a bond and creates perspective, and then there's that are antagonistic,
Right.
which is sarcasm and mocking.
Oh, yeah,
And,
mocking, yeah.
The latter is going to get you nowhere, and I do thank you for bringing that up because I think that is such an important distinction for people. So I'm not saying like laughter at any cost,
Right,
like
right,
you fool.
right. Just to lighten it up a little bit.
It's-
We have to go to break, but
okay.
we're going to talk more and more and more about Take
More
My
and more and
Spouse.
more.
Please, as I knock Kim's glasses off. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Welcome back. So
Hi.
we're still here, if you're just joining us, with Danny Klein-Modisette, author of Take My Spouse, Please. Hold that up so the YouTube audience can, woohoo. And we have a link on our website so you can buy it.
Please do.
Buy
The
two.
paperback is coming out in July, right?
Yeah, July
Okay,
7th.
July 7th.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
So what is something, like what's the most, you did this, but you got to learn a lot about
I
marriage.
learned a ton. So I guess what my takeaway for myself,
Right.
was you never regret what you didn't say, but you might regret what you said. So it's important, like the distinction between being a comedian, who you're all about being spontaneous and impulsive and saying whatever comes to you, and that's what an audience is paying for. That in a marriage, you don't need to say every single thought that comes into your head.
That's like that concept of think before you speak. My dad used to drill that into my head, and I never understood it until I got older and realized that my words can be used against me, and
Well, yeah,
but
and-
just in every, not even just as an adult, but in relationships with my kid, like I take a breath and count to however many minutes, seconds you need to contemplate.
I need to learn.
Right, but I think like in a marriage, you get, just in order to sustain, like you get relaxed. Hopefully you have some degree of like relaxation, and it's a little bit dangerous because
Right.
you don't want to get so relaxed that you're like telling the person things they don't need to hear or something that might be unnecessarily hurtful. So,
Right.
Does it have to be said? Does it have to be said by me? Does it have to be said now?
Does it bring value?
Right, right.
Yeah. What's the wardrobe thing?
Oh, so it was very interesting because my kind of throwaway idea was this idea of image, which comedians, obviously, you have to be conscious of your image. An audience makes an opinion about you from the minute they see you before you speak. And so I thought, oh, well, I should throw that in the mix and see what happens when I was interviewing, 100 couples. And it was so fascinating to discover that wardrobe isn't so much about the actual garments themselves as what it says that you're willing to do for your spouse. So it became about what effort you're willing to make and whether or not you're being seen by your spouse and how much you care and how much you're willing to compromise and what you might actually learn. Like this one couple, he would say, oh, anything she gets me, initially I would be like, I'm not wearing that ever. And then it became like his favorite shirt.
Right.
So there's that idea.
Because of her reaction to it?
No, just because he was ego, just because no, I didn't pick that
not
and
gonna
I'm not
tell-
wearing it.
Oh, I
And
see,
then
I see.
of course it becomes like the favorite garment. So I think it was so much more complex than I thought. Or like acceptance. There was one couple where the guy, even he's 50, wears like rock and roll t-shirts. And he's never going to dress up, and that's just who he is.
Right.
And she had to just make peace with that rather than continuing to like kind of fight it. It's just like, okay, that's who he is, and I have to have a sense of humor about it. And when I met with them, they just laughed and laughed about his, juvenile wardrobe. Like that was
Right,
just
right.
that
Do you think it's
became
just
funny.
wardrobe, or do you think it's appearance in
Oh, no,
general?
it's-
I mean,
it's-
haircuts, weight gain,
Yeah,
all that
it's
stuff.
all about personal maintenance and grooming and just being responsive to your mate, like on
Right,
this
right.
very primal level, which is also very vulnerable.
Well, one of
So-
the quotes in your book I found interesting, that you accepting your spouse's limitations helps to avoid a fight or something.
Well, sure. I mean,
hurting
accepting
your quote, but
your spouse's
Right.
limitations and your own limitations.
Right.
Like not having, managing expectations was something that
Right.
came up a lot too with couples, and that I personally have really found to be a helpful tool.
But I think the acceptance part too. I mean, and I am the resident single person.
Oh, you're single? I don't think I knew
Yeah.
that.
Oh.
That's why you're so hot. Help.
But I mean, I didn't read this from a marriage spouse point of view. I read this from just a relationship point of view. And so I think that there are takeaways from it that for people that aren't married
Absolutely.
currently, you know, or looking to him. And I off camera, we talked about my girlfriend that's getting married. I mean, it's hilarious. I know that she would love it, but I think that there's something to be learned from having open dialogue about relationships, regardless if you're married, divorced, single, dating, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And I loved one of the other things that you wrote, suggestions that have the possibility of failure takes the pressure off doing it perfectly. For me, like, I loved that resonated with me just as a woman, that I don't have to do, you know, that there's always a little bit of failure, and that, you know, that relieves a little bit of pressure.
Yes, I would say the 50 to 60-year-old marriages, they had no expectation of perfection.
Right.
Like, their expectation
Yeah.
is, you know, can we still enjoy each other? Can we share a meal? Can we have respect? Can we still find enjoyment and laugh? And yeah, you're gonna make mistakes. You're human. And I think
Right.
couples of my generation and younger, we're kind of all fed this like happy and
Yes.
it has to look like this and lean into your marriage, for God's sake, you know, and it's not, you can't,
God.
it's like
Help me.
exhausting and you can't.
You know, one of the when I used to go to breakfast and I would watch these old couples, both reading their newspapers at breakfast, totally ignoring each other. It used to drive me batty. I'm like, how come they come to breakfast and even talk to each other? And now I'm like, God, isn't that lovely that they can just come and
Yes.
share a meal and
Except
just,
they're judged if their news is on their phone, because then they're absent. That's a whole other.
yeah, but I just mean that people can be safe in their space and just, you know,
Absolutely.
30 seconds, not
Oh.
even. My
Oh,
gosh.
my gosh.
Danny Klein, Modisette, thank you. You
welcome.
are our first guest in our new studio.
Sorry
Very
about the porta
exciting.
john.
Very exciting.
Take My Spouse, Please.
Yes.
It's on Amazon. It's on
Barnes
what's the-
& Noble,
Barnes
it's
& Noble,
everywhere.
everywhere.
Yes. DannyKlein.com.
Excellent.
Lots
We
of
are
fun.
so grateful, and I'm going to buy it now, and I'll buy an extra one for my husband.
And thank you for your boys that were so delightful outside the studio
Oh,
taking
thank
pictures.
you. Yes, my
Yes.
little.
And have
Thank
a
you.
happy
Happy Fourth.
happy and safe Fourth, everyone.
Fourth.
We'll see you next time.
All right.